Now, the URL that's up there, can I tell everybody that URL right now? Well, we're going to be live in just a minute. We've got about a minute and a half. And then I'm going to start. Anybody that has any questions tonight, it would be great if you just type them in, and I will answer them. And if not, if you don't feel like asking any questions, then I'm just going to go ahead with my planned 30 minutes of a download of Ayurveda for, now we finished fall, and if there are questions about fall, we can go ahead and download that too, or talk about that. But tonight I have a whole lot of new information about the doshas, and I will include information on www.indigestionguru.com. Okay, are we getting close, Craig? We are in the last minute, and we're coming to our 6 o'clock. Dr. Helen Thomas, that's me, Indigestion Guru, questions and answers live Ayurveda. Are we there yet? Okay, we're coming. We're seconds away. Can you give me a countdown? Okay, well, we're live and we're broadcasting, and it's live Ayurveda with me, Dr. Helen Thomas. The indigestionguru.com. Okay, well, tonight what I wanted to do was I wanted to take you back through some basics about Ayurveda. And those basics that everybody has to know about. What those basics really are is what are called the doshas. Okay, so I have this chart right here, and I'm going to turn my chair around like this, and we're going to go through this chart. Now, before we get too far into this, we have to make our offering to Lord Ganesha, the wonderful, wonderful elephant god, who is the spirit of charisma and charm and teaching and education and having a positive event. So I would just like to ask for a blessing and send great, great, great feelings of gratitude for all the years of work that I got to do as a chiropractor and as an Ayurvedic doctor and as a Nambutapad allergy elimination technique practitioner, and seeing how these three things work together, and seeing so many cases of people who just couldn't get better using the synergy of these three techniques. And so I'm just forever grateful to be a person who gets to learn health education and teach health education and actually see all, clinical medicine relieve suffering and renew and invigorate human beings. It's very renewing and invigorating to me and my life. So I just have great gratitude to Lord Ganesha tonight and Lord Davantari. And so tonight what we're going to do is, and I also want to just hold off for 1 second and send that blessing out to all of you, that you feel the healing energies that I feel every day, being in and around healing people. Okay, so tonight what we're going to do is we're going to talk about, like I said before, we're going to talk about the basics of Ayurveda. Now you might not be able to read this, but I can read it and I'll explain it to you, all right? But and probably if you take a screenshot of it and enlarge it, you'll probably get all the notes. So anyway, when you're talking about Ayurveda, you know, the really important thing about Ayurveda is that you understand this feeling about Ayurveda, that Ayurveda is a science, an ancient science, that the ancient rishis, leaders, health educators of the time created a system to understand how the cycles of the day, the seasons, the cycles of people's lives, and the plants around them, and specifically the 5 elements affected the human body and the human experience. And then they categorized it and codified it. And that's what we're learning about today. So we're just going to some very basic things, okay? And that is that according to Ayurveda, there's an Ayurvedic lifetime line. And conception to young adult, the body tends to be thick and moist and watery. So it's the kapha time of the life, the kapha time of the life. So it's the earthy time where children are like very identify with their gravity. They're stuck to the earth, and everything is about their body and developing and watching it change and feeling the benefits of the youthful evolution. And then the Pitta time of life is young adult to about 50 years old, and the body tends to be light and alert because this period of Pitta in every single one of our lives, no matter what body type we are, is the time when we're expressing the fire in our gut, where we want to put our creative signature on our careers and in our lives, no matter what we're doing. We want to be the best mom we can be, the most creative mom we can be, the best dad we can be, the most coach that we could be. And that's the time, it's the Pitta cycle of the life. And then the Vata cycle is 50 years old to mortality, and the body tends to be dry, hot, and fiery. Because as we get older, we lose our normal hydration. And like I was teaching earlier, in the fall, when we're already over 50, over 60, and it gets to be like where we live in Sonoma County or where I live in Sonoma County, we have a really drying Indian summer. And then we go right into kind of a sometimes piercing cold, and sometimes mild, sometimes moderate, sometimes severe cold. So we go from dry to cold. So our organism that's over 50, which is going toward ether and air, and we're beginning to psychologically understand ourselves as more a spiritual nature. We're more interested in things that are less buying a house and proving who we are and building something that gives our name for the rest of our lives. I mean, it's not to say that that doesn't happen in your 60s, 70s, and 80s. It's just that you have a different relationship to it. You're not like a kid who wants to put your signature on it. You're a mature adult who understands the tradition and value of the legacy. And that's more the Vata psychology of the life than the Pitta time when you're building up your fortune, so to speak. So then Vata comes again, is described as in the foods that balance and cause imbalances according to the predominant body type that you are. And the predominant body type that you are is completely based on taking the body type test. And you can go to www.ayurvedatreatmentguide.com and go to Dosha Test, and you will find a free Dosha Test. Or you can go to many other places over the web, but I have a free Dosha Test on my site. You print it out or you write it out, and then you add how many checks in the Vata column, how many in the Pitta, and how many in the Kapha. And what you're really going to get there is not exactly your body type. What you're going to get is what is the predominant dosha. So are you full of ether and air, so you feel dry and your mouth is dry and your skin is dry? You might be having insomnia, constipation, anxiety. Those are the predominant standard symptoms of too much Vata. Or you could be too Pitta, which is you have heat in the face, you feel overheated, you might have an inflamed joint, you feel agitated, so you have too much Pitta. And so that would be your predominant dosha at the time you took the test. And so that's even more important in a certain way than your body type, because the here and the now is the most important thing. And so if you take a dosha test and it's predominantly Pitta or predominantly Vata, or it could be predominantly Kapha, where you're lethargic, feeling heavy, feeling like you're gaining weight easy, then that means that in that now, that's the state that your body is in. And you can't miss it, and it's not an intellectual event. It's not something you think about. If you look in the mirror and you're skinny and dry and agitated, or not agitated, anxious, and you have an irregular routine, like you get up in the morning but you don't feel like eating, and you eat at 2 and then you eat at 12 some days you don't eat until 3, you don't go to bed until 11 some nights, 3 another night, that is a Vata imbalance, and that really indicates a nervous imbalance, a nervous system imbalance. So it doesn't mean that you're Vata. It means that you have a Vata predominantly activity in your daily behavior. See, that's why it's so important, really. Not so important to know Ayurveda. It's so important to know the principles. And you don't have to really, a lot of people, because I've been teaching this for 30 years now, and when in the early days, in the 80s, everybody wanted to know what their dosha is. Nobody comes in talking about, I want to know my dosha, because everyone is completely confused. They don't know what their dosha is anymore. They think it's this, and then somebody else says it's that, and oh my God, that system is so crazy. It's not crazy. It's actually very body-centered, experience-centered, sensation-centered. And if you're in touch with your experience, in touch with your sensation, then you will easily know whether you're anxious, whether you're overheated, or whether you feel lethargic, or whether you feel just absolutely blissfully perfect. So it's like, really, it's just being in touch with that. And if you are dry and rough and do have insomnia, constipation, or anxiety, 1 or 2 or 3 of them, or you have dry patches of skin, or you feel like you don't have enough moisture in your mouth, you have too much ether and air in the body. And in English, what that's translated to is your body is stuck in fight or flight. It's not in rest and activity. It's in fight or flight. So really, this is the gist of it, is to a pathway that you use this whole beautiful, rich science that is really an amazing, ancient, almost poetry, to get back in touch with yourself. So that's why I'm going over the basic doshas tonight, so that we don't really get too far ahead of ourselves. We really go into ourselves, and we can use whatever language is comfortable. I love Vata, Pitta, and Kapha because they're like poetry to me. They're a new language that I learned in my life, that I continue to learn. So for me, it's comfortable. But you can also say dry, overheated, acidic, which is Pitta, and lethargic, heavy, gaining weight easy, which is Kapha. So once you get in touch with what predominant feeling you're feeling now in this moment, in the light of the fact that I explained last week about we're in the fall season, and fall is drying, okay? And then we're going to go into the cold season, and the cold season is drying. So then if you're a Vata and you've been nervous and you haven't been sleeping well, you've had constipation lately or random anxiety feelings, and you're in a place in the world where you have a long Indian summer, then you're too dry. You need to increase natural food oils into your diet in the form of 2 teaspoons of ghee a day, using more olive oil, cooking with it, actually drinking with it with hot water, or using almond oil or sesame oil or coconut oil, depending on the weather, and oiling the body, like I explained in the last video, which was daily oil massage, circular on the joints and up on the long bones. And it takes about 10 minutes, and then you shower, put your clothes on, and go on the day. That is all about the Vata pacifying. So here it says that Vatas enjoy foods and drinks that are warm, oily, sweet, sour, and salty. So these are really the taste of the fall season and going into the winter season, okay? And then minimize fasting and light eating, eating foods that are dry and cold and pungent and bitter and astringent taste. So those are not the taste that you want to have during fall and winter, okay? You want to have soups, okay? Now, the thing is that if you're going into wintertime and you're overweight, or you're going into wintertime and you've got a rash and you're overheated and you're agitated, you're not going to want to eat foods that heat you. So it's cold outside and you're overheated or too dry already in your physiology and it's showing up on your skin, then you're not going to want to think to yourself, well, I can't eat a soup with a lot of peppers and drying and overheating foods because I'm already dry and hot. And I'm going into the winter. So what am I supposed to do? What you're supposed to do is use the spices. Use the technology of the qualities of the food. Like if you're already overweight, but you have heat in your face, your belly is full of hot water, and your feet are swelling at night, okay? But it's going into winter and your skin is dry, okay? So that means that you have to eat foods that do not cause you to gain weight. That's number one thing. And you have to eat foods that are sweet, sour, and salty. So for an example, you could use coriander tea. Coriander tea, for example, let's say that you have hemorrhoids. Okay, so you're overweight and you have hemorrhoids and you're feeling hot, you've got dry skin, and we're going into the winter where I'm telling you that you should take more sweet, sour, and salty taste, which can also make you gain weight. So how do you deal with this? Because this diet is going to aggravate and accumulate more of the same problem. You use the spices. That's what you do. And you use the qualities of the food. So you use what we call in Ayurveda Vata, Churna, Pitta, Churna, or Kapha, Churna. Okay, so Churna means collection of spices. You go to www.mapi.com, and it's a wonderful site. It's Maharishi Product Incorporated. It's an actually incredible site with health tips, health explanations. They have medical doctors that practice Ayurveda on this site. It's an amazing site, and you get the best Ayurvedic products available in the Western world for sure, and because they have an amazing long tradition since long time with Maharishi Ayurveda, since the 1980s, late 70s. And they have great suppliers, organic, and they have tremendous education tools, and it's a very pleasant site. So you go to www.mapi.com, and you can buy Vata Churna, Pitta Churna, and Kapha Churna. Okay, so you take the churnas, which are a collection of spices. That's all they are, and they come in something that's like a salt and pepper shaker. And you can use them in all kinds of ways. If you're Vata and it's the winter time, then you cook ghee, which is clarified butter, and we talked a lot about that, or you cook olive oil, or you cook sesame oil, and then you take a teaspoon of Vata Churna and you cook it in the ghee or the oil. And then when you cook that, then you pour it into the vegetables or the dish that you've made. And it's the lubricating, incredibly tasty spice on anything you make, on your sweet potatoes, on your rutabagas, on your pumpkin pie even, it's delicious. So it's a really wonderful churna. So then if you're Pitta, so it's in the wintertime and you've got a rash, you've got swelling, your joints hurt and they swell, and you're overweight, and you're trying to balance your doshas, but you just can't figure out what to do. So then you use the churnas. So you follow a diet that's a low-calorie diet if you're going overweight. That's just number one. You got to do that. But then you say, well, how do I integrate Ayurveda into this? You use the churnas. So you take the Pitta spice, because you're hot, and you do exactly what I told you to do with the Vata spice, is you take ghee or olive oil or sesame oil, you put a teaspoon of the churna in it, and you cook it, and then you pour it on your sweet potatoes, rutabagas, parsnips, beets, all baked. Oh my God, it's so delicious, and it's a great fall food, and it increases, it increases the minerals in your body, and it makes you feel amazingly good. No matter what age patient I tell to do that, they always come back and say, oh, I loved it so much I kept doing it. Is that okay? Absolutely. It's a wonderful food for the whole winter, into the winter time. Now in spring, not so much, because it's time to get rid of the roots and then go toward a whole nother cleaning yourself out, which we'll talk about when we get there. So then we go to Pitta, and it says, that's how you do it. Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, okay? The churnas. So we go back to Pitta, and it says, enjoy foods and drinks that are cool, sweet, bitter, and have astringent taste. So this is exactly what you get if you get a Pitta churna, is that you get those exact tastes, and you use those, and they help. They're amazing. They taste so good, and they are so healing and so powerful. You just have to give them an absolute chance. You have to do it every single day in one of your meals. Use the churna for 90 straight days, and you will help your physiology so much through simple food. And then kapha, and you help your physiology by simple food through pacifying the doshas, using the correct churnas for the correct doshic imbalance, which is so clear to you, it's like the nose on your face, because it's like just exactly as I say. It's simple. Am I dry? Am I anxious? Am I having any insomnia? Am I having constipation? Those are the three, okay? Do I have dry skin? So Vata churna. Do I feel nervous in any way? Do I have mental exhaustion? Am I really trying hard right now, getting ready for this project for the holiday season? That's Vata pacifying, because you have to pacify your nervous system, because you're going to ask of it a lot during this big project. So you use Vata churna. That's how you think. You don't think in, I don't know what dosha I am, because that's too complicated. You get in touch with yourself. And then if you want to know what dosha it is, come and see me, and I'll tell you in a minute, okay? Okay, so then you have kapha. You enjoy the foods and drinks that are light, are dry, and warm. Foods with pungent, bitter, and astringent taste. Minimize foods and drinks that are cold, salty, sour, oily, and sweet tasting. Okay, so kapha means thick, lethargic, heavy, obese, super slow metabolism. And what it needs is spicy foods and rough foods. Like kaphic people, or anybody, you don't have to think of yourself as kaphic, you know, that's kind of, you know, sometimes words get in the way. You don't need to let these words get in the way. You need to use these concepts, because they work really good, and they taste good, and they make you feel really healthy again in the strongest, healthiest, naturalist way. So what you use kapha, what you do with kapha is you do two things. You use kapha churna, and I told you where to get it, www.nappy.com. And then the next thing you do is you use daikon radish. Daikon radish. So you dice the daikon radish up, really small, fine daikon radish, and then you put lime and salt on it, and you take an ounce of daikon radish if you're lethargic, heavy, if you have inflammation, if and you feel your digestion is slow and heavy, okay? So then what you do is you take the daikon radish, the lime and the salt, you make it an ounce, and you take it every day until everything starts moving and your whole GI tract feels light, and then you drop it down to taking every other day. And then you take a maintenance dose if you have problems with weight, kaphic, and you can also put kapha churna on it. It tastes really, really good. So, and also with the kapha people, rutabagas are great food, because they're a lot of roughage, fiber, and they're super, super great. They're high in minerals. So, you know, you're good to have. Also, Japanese sweet potatoes are amazing. And all of these foods are so easy to cook. You just cut them up. You put them in a really heavy steaming pot for the oven. You put olive oil and one of your favorite churnas on it, or maybe a little of all three. You could experiment. And you cook them for 45 minutes, and you have the most amazing vegetarian meal that's so filling. And if you want to do protein, vatas are better with turkey and chicken and fish, and crab actually is very good for vatas. Helps to replace nerve tissue. So if you're a Vata and you like crab, it's a very good dish for you. It really rebuilds the immune system and nerves. Okay, and then if you're Pitta, you can have turkey and chicken and salmon, and all three can have salmon. And kaphas are best to have the lightest meats like chicken, fish, and kaphas should always, with meat, use something hot to cut, like to help break down the heaviness of the meat. So more, like peppers and garlic are better when you're having, or even hot pepper on meat, if you take red meat for kaphas. Red meat is nuts, it's very heavy, so you have to really pick and choose when you really want to eat red meat. Okay, and then the last thing is that there's Ayurvedic locations of the dosha in the body. And so the location for kapha is the stomach. They say that 80% of the mucus in the body is in the stomach. And the moisture in the lungs is kapha. So kapha is in the stomach, in the lungs. Pitta is in the stomach and in the small intestines and in the liver. And Vata is down in the lower bowel, below the belly button. And Pitta is above the belly button. So above the belly button, like from your belly to above the belly button, is where transformation takes place. It's where the food is cooked from the liver, plops into the small intestines, is mixed with pancreatic amylase. The small intestine is said to be nothing more than a gland. It's very mucousy. So all of converting the food from what's called a food to homologous, which is a chemical composition, it happens above the belly button. Below the belly button is where now the food is gone up the ileocecal valve, up the ascending, across the transverse, and down the descending and out. And that's apana vayu, the forceful downward action that we talked about last week. And that is the Vata portion of the body. So everything in Ayurveda, trees, bees, parts of bodies, organs, times of the season, times of life, times of the day, are all divided into the doshas, because everything has a characteristic, everything has a quality. And so it's so amazing to me that I've always been in love with Ayurveda, because when you think about that, the 5 senses and the 5 elements and the cyclic nature of everything, that's how we relate, like this amazing dance. And knowing the doshas gives you the steps to the dance. And so we'll talk more and more about this. And think about your questions and get online with me and ask about what's going on with you in the day, in the moment. And we can talk about that and we can all learn from it. Don't be shy. I'll answer your questions, any questions. But this is how we can really learn. Okay, now what I wanted to go through now is just kind of discussing some simple spices. Okay, number 1, cardamom. So cardamom, C-A-R-D-O-M-E-N. Sorry, I had to look up that to remember the spelling. So cardamom is a wonderful spice, and I am sure you all know that. Now, there's just a few things about cardamom that you have to know. Number 1, you can't take too much cardamom. Cardamom will cause nausea, but it also get rid of nausea if you just take not more than a pinch. And so there are many dishes in Ayurveda used with cardamom, because cardamom helps to the cardiovascular system. Cardamom helps really amazingly well in congestions, coughs, and colds, and it's delicious. And there's a zillion ways to use cardamom, and you can look that up. But it's really important to know that it's the cough, cold, and that's why I'm telling you that, spice, because it's the seasonal spice. And then to go along with cardamom is clove. So clove is called lavanga. And lavanga, or lavangadi, is an incredible medicine that I use in my office, Ayurvedic medicine that I use in my office for coughing and for coughs and colds, and used as an expectorant. And lavanga and lavangati is that there are salts, and cardamom is also in that. It's also in sitoplati, which is for the throat. And I am telling you, if you get coughs and colds and they start in your throat, come into the office or call the office, 707-527-7313, and get sitoplati and turmeric. It works. I've done it so many times. And the main spice in sitoplati is cardamom, and then the other, and it also has clove, and clove, of course, is used for colds, coughs, and congestion. It's used many other things, but I wanted to isolate colds, coughs, and congestions because this is really kind of a transitional hangout tonight, because we're coming to the end. November 1st is staring us in the face, and then we're moving into more winter. You know, I know December 21st, and but pretty soon the leaves will really start falling, and the dryness will be replaced with cold, moist air. And so cardamom and clove will come in so handy. Now the next herb for this season is cumin. Cumin is, amazing. It's for indigestion, and it gets rid of gas, and it gets rid of burping. And cumin is the most amazing herb. You can take cumin with ghee and sugar, half a teaspoon to a teaspoon, before, if you have trouble having an appetite, before you eat. And you can even break it down to 1/8 of a teaspoon, because you can get your digestive system working again with cumin, but you have to, depending on how bad you feel, you have to start with low doses and then go just tinily up, and never go more than a half of a teaspoon, usually 1/4 of a teaspoon, but you mix 1/4 of a teaspoon with a teaspoon of ghee, and then you use it all day long, right before you eat, and it prepares your gut and gets your stomach to secrete hydrochloric acid, pepsin, and it cleans the mucus, and it's amazing for the GI tract. So cumin, and also if you have gas, bloating, pain in the stomach, mucus in your stools, food that's not digesting, and it's in a bowl, and problems that stools that are not like bananas floating, then you need the Indigestion Guru program. The Indigestion Guru program is 30 weeks. There's PDFs and audios, and there is just so much great Ayurvedic information in there with recipes, instructions, principles. There's conversations with me and other people that have suffered and gotten better using the Indigestion Guru program. So I would really strongly recommend. It's so inexpensive. It's simple. You could get it today and start making soups and start hearing about the personality behaviors that start happening when you have indigestion and gas. The sleeping problems, eating problems, asthma problems, heart kinds of issues, all from digestive imbalances, belching, burping, gas. So click. In fact, what you can do is you can go ahead and if it's not on here, because sometime or another I'm going to get something that says go to the link below and click to Indigestion Guru, and I don't think you can do that on this time. So you can copy and paste the www.indigestionguru.com and put it in the browser and go there and go not only just sign up for the free Ayurvedic book, but go and sign up for the program. It's worth it. You'll be amazed at how many recipes, how many conversations, and what a different way of feeling nourished and good. And I have so many people who love this program, and I'm sure that you'll love it too. So I guess tonight we're over for tonight. Send in questions. Put them on the Google or put them on YouTube, and I'll answer them. And next time, get brave and ask questions. We'll have a conversation. I know one of these times you're going to have questions, and I'm going to work at getting the old expert thing going. So good night. I enjoyed this very much. I hope you did too. Bye. Love ya.